Imagine a perfect spring morning in the heartland of America. The sky is bright and clear. The date is April 19th, 1995. You are walking down a quiet street in downtown Oklahoma City. You see people buying coffee and holding the hands of their small children. In the center of the city stands a large modern structure made of glass and concrete. It is the Alfred P. Murrah Federal Building. Inside, hundreds of ordinary citizens are starting their workday. There is even a busy daycare center on the second floor, filled with playing toddlers. Everything feels completely safe, peaceful, and totally normal. But parked just outside the front doors is a simple yellow rental truck. Inside, that heavy vehicle is a devastating threat. In just a few fleeting seconds, the peace of this city will be completely shattered. The massive glass windows will break, the concrete walls will fall, and the entire nation will be changed forever. This is the tragic story of Oklahoma City. It is a story of immense sorrow, unthinkable betrayal, and the powerful resilience of an American community. For decades, the United States felt largely protected from massive acts of violence on its own soil. The heartland of the country was considered the safest place of all. People in Oklahoma left their doors unlocked. They knew their neighbors. They trusted their community. But a dark undercurrent of anger was slowly growing in the shadows. A small group of individuals had developed a deep, bitter hatred for the federal government. One of these men was a former soldier. He was deeply angry about previous government actions, and he wanted to strike back in the most devastating way possible. He did not use an advanced military weapon. He used completely ordinary materials. He bought heavy bags of agricultural fertilizer and gallons of racing fuel. He carefully mixed them together to create a massive, heavy payload. He packed this terrifying mixture into a completely normal rental truck. He then drove the truck across the quiet country roads, heading directly toward the unsuspecting city. On that fateful Wednesday morning, the yellow truck rolled slowly into downtown Oklahoma City. The driver parked the heavy vehicle directly in front of the federal building. He quietly stepped out of the truck, locked the doors, and walked away. He left the vehicle, sitting right beneath the large glass windows of the daycare center. Inside the building, parents were dropping off their children. Office workers were pouring their first cups of coffee. They had absolutely no idea that a timer was silently counting down just a few feet away. At exactly 9 o'clock and 2 minutes in the morning, the unthinkable happened. A devastating blast ripped through the quiet city street. The sheer force of the impact was totally beyond human comprehension. It was felt entirely across the city, shaking the ground miles away like a massive earthquake. The front half of the 9-story concrete building was instantly erased. All the massive glass windows shattered into millions of tiny pieces. The heavy floors collapsed onto each other, pancaking down into a massive pile of broken concrete, twisted steel, and heavy dust. The immediate aftermath was pure terrifying chaos. A thick, dark cloud of smoke completely blocked out the sun. Car alarms screamed in the surrounding streets. People wandered out of the nearby buildings, covered entirely in gray ash, completely confused and in deep shock. They could not understand what had just happened. Many people initially thought it was a natural gas leak or a terrible accident. But as the thick dust slowly began to clear, the horrifying reality of the situation became undeniably visible. The brave first responders of the city rushed directly into the danger. Firefighters, police officers, and ordinary citizens ran toward the unstable, crumbling structure. They did not wait for official orders. They used their bare hands to lift heavy pieces of concrete, desperately searching for survivors. The search and rescue effort was incredibly dangerous. The remaining walls of the building were shifting, cracking, and groaning under their own immense weight. Engineers constantly warned the brave rescue teams that the rest of the massive structure could collapse at any single moment. But the determined firefighters refused to stop. They slowly crawled into dark, narrow, and unstable spaces, risking their own lives for strangers. They called out into the heavy, dusty silence, hoping against all hope to hear a faint voice calling back from the dark void. The entire nation watched the tragedy unfold on live television. News anchors struggled to maintain their composure. The most heartbreaking realization came when the public learned about the daycare center. The loss of innocence was completely overwhelming. The country wept together. In the face of this immense darkness, an incredible wave of compassion swept across the entire United States. Thousands of people drove to Oklahoma to offer their help. They brought food, heavy tools, and warm blankets. The response proved that the spirit of the nation could not be broken. Meanwhile, the federal investigators launched the most massive manhunt in American history. Hundreds of agents carefully sifted through the massive pile of debris, searching for any tiny clue. Within a few short days, their meticulous work paid off. They found a small, twisted, and burned piece of metal from the axle of the truck. It miraculously contained a partial vehicle identification number. This single, vital piece of evidence led them directly to the local rental agency, and eventually to the capture of the primary perpetrators. The swift arrest brought a small sense of justice to the grieving nation, but the pain of the loss would remain forever. The devastating incident claimed the lives of 168 innocent people. It was the deadliest act of domestic violence in the history of the United States. The city of Oklahoma refused to let the devastating tragedy define their future. They chose to honor the fallen in a deeply moving way. They carefully removed the remaining unstable structure of the ruined building. In its place, they built a beautiful, peaceful, and profound outdoor memorial. They created a large reflecting pool that mirrors the changing sky, symbolizing quiet healing. They carefully placed 168 empty chairs on a perfectly manicured green lawn. Each individual chair represents every single person who was tragically lost that morning. One of the most powerful symbols of the memorial is an old, scarred elm tree. This tree was severely burned and completely stripped of its leaves during the massive blast. Everyone thought the tree would surely perish. But the following spring, it miraculously sprouted green leaves again. It became known as the survivor tree. It stands today as a living reminder of resilience. It proves that life and hope can grow even in the darkest, most ruined places. The tragedy of Oklahoma City changed the way Americans looked at their own country. It forced the nation to realize that danger can hide in plain sight. It led to massive changes in how federal buildings are secured and protected. But more importantly, it demonstrated the unbreakable bond of a community in crisis. The people chose unity over division. They chose love over hatred. The scars of the past eventually fade, but the lessons remain forever etched in the national memory. The country rebuilt its shattered confidence and moved forward together into a new era. But the new century would quickly bring a completely different kind of challenge. What happens when the wrath of nature completely overwhelms the defenses of a historic, vibrant city? What happens when massive rising floodwaters trap hundreds of thousands of people in their own homes, testing the absolute limits of government response? In our next episode, we will travel to the jazz-filled streets of New Orleans. We will uncover the roaring winds of Hurricane Katrina, the breaking of the massive levees, and the desperate struggle for survival in a drowned metropolis. Share your thoughts with us in the comments below. Hit that subscribe button and join us next time as we continue to uncover the thrilling hidden chapters of history